welcome to this edition of the Liberty Report for the 7th of January 2026. My name is Adam Maxwell with the Liberty Rising Group, and here with Professor Red Pill.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Well, it's been a very interesting week since we started our little shindig here. We had a New Year's special, kind of like a dry run for this Christmas extravaganza. The Grinch has stole Caracas. Is that how you pronounce that city, the capital?
Caracas.
And he's stealing oil. Yep. Yeah, so we've actually, I think we've actually got some live, we got some recorded footage of the actual capture. So I'm going to play that now and then we'll get into it. 1 second.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. What's up?
I'm kind of surprised we don't have like GoPro footage of the. I'm sure the Americans have it. the footage of the special forces in Maduro's mansion or wherever he was taken from.
I don't know. That shit's probably classified. They probably don't. Who knows? I know. Like with Bin Laden with the raid, they did. I don't think they ever had footage. And that anything that they have satellite or anything like that or anything, I doubt they do. But anything they do, it's probably not going to ever be.
Well, they definitely do have the satellite footage of things like these, and it's classified. But yeah, no, just like so this occurred this week. I think it was Friday. They go in, swoop in 2 a.m. Supposedly, the special forces, U.S. special forces, had been in Venezuela for at least a day or days before the event. Apparently, the entire thing took a matter of a couple hours, 90 minutes. Supposedly, the special forces troops were already embedded in the ground, maybe civilian clothing. That's why they were able to go in, take it. Then all the bombing started. This was to cover up the extraction rather than send in the helicopters, come down, go in. That's my understanding. Listening to the Duran reporting across a wide number of sources, but especially of Sonar 21. There's talk about it being kind of an inside job, kind of not. I mean, there were definitely insiders. My understanding is Maduro was not on the inside of this inside job, but certainly some regime actors were. And it seems relatively successful. I mean, 90 or so people died as well. I think they blew up a statue of Chavez just to say, screw you to communism in Venezuela, which I'm not a fan of communism, so fine with that. I don't know how it feels. Unfortunately, there was a lot of mixed reactions about the event, in the sense that I'm not even touching on who was happy about it. The footage that people were talking about in Venezuela on social media, lots of people were saying the Venezuelans are happy, and then lots of other people were saying all this footage is fake. It's from years ago, and it was kind of difficult to gauge really what's going on. Fortunately, that weekend I had a Mexican come and visit me out here, or I met up with some Mexican individual, and he's got lots of Latins on his social media. And he said, yeah, it's a really good thing. I hate communism. And all my Latin friends are very pleased and happy about it. So I don't know if the footage he showed me was authentic, but certainly at least this youth sentiment was generally in favor of the abduction of Nicolas Maduro, which means, I mean, it's important. How does people feel about what is a naked display of force, of a total abandonment of rules, while also saying, "Oh, this is a law enforcement operation. We didn't come up with a warrant or charge. We would just go in, take him, we'll deal with everything later."
I mean, from what I understand, apparently, there was they. I guess the people wanted him out, and the he literally didn't want to leave. He basically pulled a Zelensky and held up elections and all kinds of normal stuff, and it refused to leave. I guess, kind of like what Netanyahu or whatever his name is, kind of like his situation. I guess like he's trying to stay in power, or at least as a prime minister, for as long as he can. And some believe that he may have instigated this current conflict to try to remain, because I guess there's inquiries for his impeachment and removal and persecution, things like that. It's stuff that I don't really cover Israel. I don't really have a lot of knowledge about it. I just know about the oil, U.S., basically global oil policy, trade, stuff like that. But I don't know much about the geopolitics within Israel and that region. In South America, what I know is what I studied as an undergrad at Evergreen State College. My professor was he actually was an expert in geopolitics in South America and the Caribbean, probably one of the foremost at Evergreen State, probably in the country. To be honest, he observed a lot of elections in South America, and I believe, I forget which country it was, but he did a lot of extensive study and research in South American politics and Cuba. And from what I understand, when Chavez was in power, apparently there was an attempted coup to remove him from power, and a German documentary crew was there at the time. You could Google it. It's on YouTube, the censor tubes or YouTubes or whatever. You could obviously find it if you Google it. But I think it's I forget what the name of the documentary was, but they documented everything. They were there with Chavez and the coup attempt, or the alleged coup attempt, and it failed. And Chavez was put on a plane, captured, arrested, willingly flew, and then the crowd, or the people, started protesting at the palace to bring him back. And they were basically at a possible revolution during this time. And they brought him back. And then the people that were trying to stage the coup were freaked out, because they were like, we're probably going to go to prison the rest of our lives or die. And apparently Chavez just released them. He said, get the hell out of my country, basically. And I guess most of them left and went to the US or wherever they were originally from. So it's rather interesting. We watched the documentary and he discussed it and whatnot. But that's the geopolitics in South America. I mean, they go from fascism. A lot of these countries are going from fascism to communism to free market capitalism. And it's just, we have banana republics, if you recall a lot of that stuff going on in the 80s during Reagan, the Contra incident. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on in South America over the last 40 years through different administrations. But I believe right now is probably the most stable situation for a long time in South America. And a lot of that's probably to do with trade, China coming in, building ports, giving money, IMF, even the U.S. government, with trade and stability. But it's still an upward battle, I think. Anything you want to add to that, I guess?
CIA approved. I don't know by free market capitalism. Like, there's a lot of critique, which is that look, America is saying we're liberating Venezuela. We're coming in. We're gonna seize your president, whom we have delegitimized. We have and they may be correct. We have imposed his election was illegitimate. He's illegitimate, but also we're coming in, seizing him. We're keeping his vice president. She's now the acting president. So if his election was illegitimate, why hasn't the regime itself been attacked? Just the man at the top. Many questions because it's an incoherent policy. But you know, free market. Then they're not looking to free the market or liberate. It's specifically about them seeking to topple the head and get them to fall in line, to subordinate themselves to American imperial decree. We don't like Maduro. Why? Well, look. There's lots of reasons to dislike Maduro. I'm sure I'm mostly ignorant because it's a part of the world I'm not so interested in. It's got nothing to do with it. We keep tabs. But I'm sure I don't like Maduro. I'm sure he's problematic and whatnot. I'm sure I don't agree with his ideology, but it's about power. That's all it's about. They don't. Yeah, the oil it's important, but they just want to subordinate. Get in line, do as you're told, and if you don't, we're going to escalate and use our force because we are an empire. And they're threatening Canada and Greenland and Cuba and Nicaragua and Colombia. And they've already done whatever to Ukraine. It's just it's empire, and they're so open about it. Oh yeah, this is a law enforcement operation. Actually, we really want the oil, and they say
Yeah.
this openly. um, Look, if it's a law enforcement operation, you do a grand jury, you indict the man, you get a warrant for his arrest, you go in. No, they're
I think they
illegitimate.
already. I think they already have all that. Like they've already done the investigation. They already have evidence.
Not
The
seemingly.
reality is, I don't know. We'll see. Basically, what had happened was, and I'd said, as soon as it was happening in real time, I'm a legal expert, geopolitic expert, and sociology, and I know a lot to do with international law, and especially. I studied the particular laws that they're going to charge him under. I studied extensively in criminal law at law school. I broke it down this way. Basically, they're gonna charge him the same way they charge Nicaragua and El Capo. They charge him on drug trafficking as a kingpin, dealing with drug trade. This started. This started with China with the trade embargoes. Mexico as well. They had told the Mexican government that basically they're going to issue tariffs because of the fentanyl issue that's coming in. Legitimately, they do have a case if they can prove, which I'm sure DEA is the one actually made the arrest. Delta Force is basically an anti-terror task force. They're specialized in this particular type of extraction operation. But they were working with they were DEA agents on the ground, in the ground, been implanted for who knows how long. They're all DEAs like permanently down in South America. They were in Afghanistan before the invasion. I think they were actually there even before September 11th. DEA was already there, allegedly. So the reality is that they've probably got enough evidence to support a conspiracy. Now, what they will probably charge, Maduro with is they charge him with conspiracy for drug trafficking to the United States, which is they do. The United States does have jurisdiction all over the world in this regard. Money laundering as well, counterfeiting. That's what they got Saddam on, among other charges. But yeah, I mean, the main thing is that they'll get him in that probably won't stick, but it doesn't matter because they're going to probably try to bring RICO, and RICO is basically a conspiracy. It's the way that they charge it is it's all you have to prove is that there is alleged conspiracy of criminal operation, and they got him in the country through trafficking, who knows, human trafficking. They're probably charging with and drug trafficking. But it doesn't matter if that sticks because they'll probably charge them with RICO. RICO has a conviction rate of 100% in the United States, give or take. I think 100 to 99% to 100%. They're charging them in what I said all of this exactly as I said. They're taking them to Cuba to get Mo. That's the fueling station because they're obviously unmarked charter planes. Then they'll take him from there to Southern District in New York, which is it's actually one of the most prestigious federal courts in the United States. And not only that, it's one of the highest conviction rates, federal conviction rates in the country. I think it's at like 90%. But particular drug charges, which actually the penalty is life in prison in the United States for federal drug trafficking charges. Um, I think they have a conviction rate around. Hold on one second. I think they have a conviction rate around 98% for drug trafficking in that particular district. So we'll see what happens. I do know they obviously are gonna charge his wife and him as co-defendants. And my guess is they will be convicted or at least plea to probably a 25-year, maybe RICO or some type of federal crime to at least get them in the circuit for 25 years. I think eventually he's going to go to ADX Supermax in Colorado. That's where a lot of these high profile individuals are people go. It's the only place that would be secure enough where he would be able to be housed. That's all I'm going to say. I digress. You continue.
Yeah, so
It's a lot of information.
There's actually not a RICO charge against Maduro now.
No,
No
okay.
indictment. They repeatedly describe his circle rhetorically as the Cartel de las Soles, language that mirrors RICO framing. RICO would require proof of an enterprise, a pattern of racketeering activity and continuity and control. So far, there is no enterprise formally pleaded, no RICO counts filed, and no RICO forfeiture orders sought. So they are using a RICO-style narrative without RICO liability. They have charged him under 4 counts: international narcotics trafficking conspiracy, narco-terrorism, money laundering, and firearms offences in connection with trafficking. Now, my understanding, listening to the Duran yesterday, day before, they said they're charging him with like owning a machine gun, which is illegal in the USA but not in Venezuela. So what are you really
Correct.
talking about? It is as it is. That it seems that no matter what, a charge will stick because you went into the country illegally or without any statute or color of law. You killed 90 people. You spent this has been massively impactful. If he were to be, if he were to get off, if he were to be acquitted, I don't think the USA could could absorb the reparation damages that would be due. So it seems that no matter what, a charge is going to stick, maybe all 4.
So I'll break this down simply for our followers, even for you to an extent, to understand exactly how the federal circuit brings charges. What they generally do is this is courts in general. This is how they do it. Because like I said, most cases settle out before they get to trial. 99, it's like 98% of case, 97% of cases usually settle out. That's criminal and civil law, civil liability. So generally what they do is they stack the deck, like you're saying. They all they have to do is get a warrant. They just have to get one warrant on anything, anything that they allege or evidence, which they've obviously got. And they initially get a charge. When they bring the individual in for what's called felony investigation, it's you've got the arrest. You can hold them for a definite amount of time. I think 72 hours for arraignment. And during that period, you could do a felony investigation through when you're doing interrogations, things like that. But if you've already got an arrest warrant, they just bring the charge. And then generally through the process, they start adding other charges as they go. So that by the time you get to pretrial conference or your discovery hearing, basically this is evidence discovery hearing or pretrial conference, you've already gotten through what evidence is admissible, what's not admissible. You're fine tuning through different things. You're saying, well, this isn't admissible, so the judge drops this charge and this sort of thing. So you stack the cards so that you give the defense more work and a lot of things to go through, basically a fishing expedition, if you will. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of discovery and a lot of felony investigation in order to get through all the basically crap, you know. And at the end of the day, they start bringing settlements as you get further and further closer to the pretrial conference, and then you say, I'm not taking a deal, or I am taking the deal, and you flee out, or you say, oh, let's get ready for trial. And then they set a trial date. Plus, you have this, because we're getting in gray areas too, because, you know, generally as U.S. citizens, you have the right to a speedy trial. You can waive it as well. But in regards to the speedy trial process, this is from your country, by the way, your compatriots. Why we have this law in our Constitution. It's so that people don't get stuck in prison, like Gitmo, like the old during the War on Terror, where they were just keeping people in prison for without charge, comitatus, and they could do that through a military tribunal system because they're not really being charged in the United States, so they don't really have. This is the legal theory. It's not my theory or what I believe. I'm just saying the legal theory or legal precedent behind it is that because they have suspension of comitatus because they are enemy combatant versus they fall under international law as opposed to the United States law. So that's why they were getting around it at the federal level. But in this regard, he will be tried as if he were a resident or a U.S. citizen. So he's going to have those similar rights and legalities in the courts. So we'll see where it goes. But this is like going to be OJ, Epstein, all this stuff on steroids. This is going to be like the trial of a century. And it will be interesting. And it will be televised, and it will be on CNN and Fox News every day for months, years, you know. And why do you think, I mean, let's just get the brass tacks here, Adam. Why do you think that all of a sudden they decide to go in on Christmas of all times? What got released recently? There was a big dump of files that just got released recently. Are you familiar with this? This little thing going.
Jeffrey files?
Yeah. I think it was some diddly guy that had an island out in the Caribbean. There was a huge dump like the day before they went into Venezuela to capture the democratically elected leader of Venezuela. So why? I mean, if you go back to that movie we showed before, Wag the Dog, with Robert De Niro and Dustin Hoffman, the narrative behind this, and I suggest you guys watch that movie. It's a really good movie. This is what we're dealing with. It's called misdirection, and what they do is what the government. This is allegedly. What they do is they'll create some kind of incident or some kind of major international geopolitical stunt in the event of any type of really major geopolitical event domestically, to take the media and to take the people's view off of one thing to go on another thing. So you see what the left hand, you don't see what the right hand's doing, kind of thing. And that's probably what's going on here. I'm not saying that is, but it probably is, because they've been working on this particular case for a while, and you can hear in the media, like I said, with the fentanyl crisis. The Trump administration wanted one of the things that he wanted to tackle was fighting the fentanyl crisis and stopping drugs coming in through the border, and then also stop legal immigration. And this is with this particular special military operation, where the fuck they got that from. With this particular special military operation, it tackled two issues: illegal migration and drug cartels or whatever have you, and then probably arms trades. So they tackled multiple things through this, allegedly. So I don't know. I digress. What else do you want to cover on that? I want to get into eventually. Sorry, I just want to get into eventually how this is going to affect geopolitics globally and trade. But continue.
Sure. So, I mean, this was months in the planning. This is a significant global event, something that's not just done on a whim. It's strategic. Whether it's correct or not, different story. So I'm not sure that. I mean, maybe they said, all right, like release these files the day before this goes down. That could make sense, but I don't think it's like, all right, these files are going to be released. Go in. It seems to be cart and horse there. Months of planning, as I said, it's likely that many special force operators were in the country beforehand. Um, Importantly, Maduro had been indicted in the Southern District of New York, and a reward had been offered for his capture from 2020. But actually, there was no conventional arrest warrant before this operation. It was done. They said, yeah, we acted on that indictment. There was no ordinary arrest warrant that's been publicly documented. It was instead a unilateral action. Using extraterritorial drug and terror statutes. It was really a unilateral display of force. He had not been convicted, not been tried, not been removed via judicial process. Fine. The indictment was a pressure instrument which enabled sanctions, asset seizure, and narrative escalation. It effectively gave a pretext, not disposition, a political justification for unilateral force, um, which is how they do things, right? They insist upon their rules based humanitarian democratic order. Now, not law based, because under law you charge and then you can charge in absentia, but no, rules based. We've indicted him. I'm not sure exactly the distinction there, but this is for democracy. They say. What are you talking about? Like you've laundered it, and again, they say it's for democracy. It's an enforcement action. Also, we want the oil. Also, we want. Again, we're not going to stop there. We're going to keep going, and we're moral about it. We're going to steal their assets because that is order. Uh, uh, and if you don't do what we say, we're going to continue to escalate. This is their official rhetoric. So what are you talking about? This is not this is not okay. This is, I mean, maybe it is, but what it is, it's naked imperialism. It
I,
mhm.
yeah,
Shame.
it is what it is. This is the beginning stages of America going from a republic to an empire to like a Romanistic empire. And I had said this, if you recall, you could go back on our podcast, going back to inauguration. I had said yes, Trump is going to be known as the UBI president, and he's going to be a bit of a tyrant because he's going to have to be. If the republic is dying. And I said the only way to repair or to restore the republic is to create an empire and create an authoritarian oligarch or a dictatorship. And you could very well see, and I had said many times, I said you could very well see the United States collapse. People are like, oh my God, it's going to collapse. What are you talking about? I said, collapse 2025. It's going to happen in 2025. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, it's going to start with a dollar decline. It's going to, crypto, gold, silver is going to skyrocket towards the end of 2025. Exactly what happened. And I said by this time, we would start seeing geopolitical moves. And these geopolitical moves would be towards the staging of an empire. And at any time, and then you will see, I said in 2025, 2026, you're going to see talk about the repeal of the 14th Amendment. Why? We talked about this before as well, before Trump took over as president. That this would become a question. The reason why is the 14th Amendment is what keeps the current system in power. It was a rebranding of the U.S. Constitution. It's basically almost word for word the Constitution and the 14th Amendment. And this galvanized and created the American government, or the new American Republic, as a corporation. And see, it's a fine tell. It's kind of like a what is it? Kind of like a scale. So like, if it goes a little too far this way, you're going full authoritarian with that 14th Amendment. So you want that happy balance to keep a stable, stability, like I said, to keep a stable empire or stable republic. But at this time, because of the polars between Biden and the Trump regimes rather, or governments, it's gone this way and this way. So now you're at a point where you're at like a Pompey, Julius Caesar type civil conflict. And that's what's happened. And now you have the Civil War. And who's going to take power after the Civil War? Augustus Caesar. So who is the Augustus Caesar that's going to take over in the next government? I honestly think America has collapsed. It's already collapsed. We're in the transition from it being a republic to an empire. And I said this many times the last 2-3 years. And now geopolitical commentators are now saying, oh, well, yeah, blah, 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 blah. This is what's happening. It's like, well, if you followed my podcast, you read my books, listen to my lectures, you would have already known all this stuff because I predicted it to the T and when it would happen.
So very quickly, the 14th Amendment grants citizenship to all people, persons born or naturalized in the United States. So that's what he's talking about, the repeal of that.
It's more than that, but yeah, that's the gist of it. Yes.
Yeah, I think America, it's becoming an empire or it's transition. There's always been an imperial basis there, right? Especially, I mean, look at the last century. You zoom out of the narratives of democracy. America, this empire, invaded Europe. So did the USSR, and it attacked the continental old order, which was Germany. And then you have these two superpowers, these two empires competing over the world. And then 1991, this one collapsed and America took over, and this was the unipolar moment, and they're the hegemon. If you're the world hegemon, you're an empire. Right? That's how it is. And of course, I think they got a bit egoistic, narcissistic, warmongering, kind of things ran away from them. But and now there's a leveling as you're seeing a resurgence of multipolarity and kind of more opposition. I think it's a great statement. The Republic is dying. Long live the American Empire. To be more precise, the Republican form has been superseded by its imperial function. The USA is increasingly exercising its power through extraterritorial enforcement, through executive fiat, right? Trump tweets something, says something, and the world has to react, through sanctions regimes, asset seizures, proxy courts, military capture, and all of this is done usually without even congressional declarations, warrants, or any form of completed judicial process. It's just executive action which precedes legislative authorization, coercion. It's no longer functioning as a republic governed by law, but as an empire governed by command. Now, very importantly, you can have civilizational collapse and persistence. When conditions of civilization are absent, society may persist administratively, but it either does not exist civilizationally or it struggles through a state of decay. I mean, to have civilization, you need a hierarchy of values, continuity of meaning, legitimate authority, cultural particularity, and organic elite formation. What we have with liberal democratic republicanism is a decivilizing force, a destructuring force. It is dissolving genuine order without supplying a replacement capable of commanding loyalty, only force. And what I find to be the most disgusting about it is it tells you this is for your own good. We do this for you, the people, a sovereign, because we're a democracy. It's like, no, this is a decivilizing managerial regime. So I actually don't agree with you that this is a Pompey, Julius Caesar, and Augustus Caesar rises, because I think where we are is a technocratic neo-feudal state where you don't need to have an Augustus Caesar. I don't think they want an Augustus Caesar. I think they're very happy with their technocrats, with their oligarchs, with their capital owners, with Palantir, with OpenAI, with XAI has just done raised $20 billion for new integrations with the army and advanced AI infrastructure. You don't need a Julius Caesar or Augustus Caesar where you have Elon Musk as a figurehead for state capital to do everything they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not going to be there's not going to be any Julius Caesar style. I think it's going to be a Roman Republic. I mean, I think it's going to be a Senate. So it's not going to be a republic, but it's going to be an empire ruled by a senate of oligarchs. Those oligarchs are Gates, Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, the usual suspects, oligarchs, and then you'll have, basically Caesars. You'll have different czars within the empire. We've already seen that with Pelosi, with the Bidens, with the Kennedys. These different families. So it's the stage is already set. The system's already been established, and these families, you hear these names, not Zuckerberg per se or Bezos, but these, Gates and all of these different names and families. These stem from the old country, from the blue bloods is what they call them. They stem from the Jamestowns and the Plymouths, and these families have ruled the United States since the beginning. So it's not a rocket science or any type of like surprise that these individuals are controlling the government and the country and geopolitics and business and industry now. It is what it is. It's just that now it's more what's the word I want to use to best encompass this, more blatant. It's more obvious, as you said with your previous thumbnail from the last podcast. What's obvious in 2025? It's obvious. It's becoming an empire. It is what it is.
Well, as you said, it's already empire. The architecture, the governance, the people, everything's already there. It's just becoming more naked. The anomaly is not the action, but the insistence on calling it democracy, on rules based, on continuing to lie. But this is what they do. It is a laundering machine. It's coercion which is purified by language, and it's because it's such naked imperialism, because it's so hypocritical. You can immediately notice all the hypocrisy, all the holes, all the fragility that goes around. I mean, you have Europe saying, "Well, we love America," and then America says, "Yeah, we might want to." We kind of need Greenland because look at the Arctic. I mean, you got China, you got Russia, and Europe's like, no, you can't do that. And then America's like, are you going to challenge us? And they say, no, because we kind of need you for Russia. So, okay. By the way, what was so bad about Russia, right? The Western actors are condemning Russia for influence enforcement while openly, first off, manufacturing the war, but also openly declaring identical practices elsewhere. So there's no equality of states. There's no good faith application of international norms. And this contradiction is dispositive. The condemnation is not principled, it's instrumental. So the scandal is not so much the imperial action. That's life. We know it. We talk about it. But most people, like seriously, you speak to some people and the reaction I got on some of the videos from last stream were bewildering because they're saying like, how are you saying this? Because they buy into the denial. And all we do is value-free analysis here. Like we're not looking at the narratives. We're looking at how the power is actually enforced. And so that's how we can analyze. But they're enforcing it while insisting it's law, democracy, morality, which causes a systemic hypocrisy, epistemic corruption, brainwashing, menticide, and it's just accelerating decivilization. And then when we call it out for what it is, people say, oh, I can't believe you're siding with someone else. You're not siding with my government. I don't like my government, but I just support everything they do because I can't actually see it for what it is. Fortunately, Professor and I, we're expatriated. We're not living in these bubbles. So we do a lot of, academic analysis. So we have a degree of neutrality. We have our biases, of course, but we're not being bombarded by the constant brainwashing, which is endemic and severely permeating.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I'm an affiliate professor, so like I have access to university information, research, and things of that nature. So I do a lot of independent research, and this is my particular field as far as geopolitics. My specialization is West Asia and the Caucasus. So That's why I was very extensive in like the coverage that I gave with the Ukrainian Russian conflict. As that's come to an end, we're not really talking about that anymore because it's kind of it is what it is. It's basically done. It's just in the final stages. So there's not really much to cover. I know Duran likes to cover it. I talk to Alex from time to time about with the Duran. He's one of my followers on LinkedIn, but I mean, it is what it is. They're covering it because it's most of their followers. That's what they're primary focused on. A lot of our followers in the beginning were really focused on the Ukraine conflict. It's where we got a lot of our followers from in the Telegram group. By the way, the link's in the description.
Can you hear me well, by the way?
Yeah, I can.
All
Yeah,
right.
Swen's with us. What's up, broski?
You can only watch that stuff for so many months or years before you go
Yeah.
insane. Like what? Like the front line has moved 20 miles in this direction and then gone back 5 miles and so on and so forth. It's very tiresome. When it comes to what Adam was talking about, which I thought was important, is this false identity that this it's being externalized through the media and through alternative media or counter media influencers, where they are affiliating the actions of the state, they're associating the actions of the state as we the people, this is us, this is who we are dominating, we are expanding. But how many Americans will actually benefit from the conquer of Venezuela? Like, do they think that their living standards will go up? That oil will be pumped into, say, like better standards of living to Americans? Doesn't seem to have been the case with most annexations of territory over the past 60 years. It's only gone as America has gained more influence in the world, Americans have gotten poorer and poorer. Like it doesn't translate. So it's like this is we, this is us. It's not you. It's the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, it's the Musks, it's the Bezos, and that's not going for you.
Yeah, it's as old as time. We go back to the Gilded Age, and we look at, like I said, the Rockefellers and the DuPonts and all these families. They accumulated a lot of wealth. That's why we have Vanderbilt University. That's why we have Stanford. We have these education institutions because they were donated by these families because they accumulated so much wealth during the Gilded Age. They took advantage of. Go ahead.
They project their worldview through the institutions in an externalized manner to
Mhm.
manufacture this and externalize this reality to the lower educated masses that don't go to these institutes. They are told by Rockefeller, Rothschild, whoever, uh, please educate the public on how reality works and how it is. And that's why pretty much every single university in the UK is extremely ideological. It's almost as though it was like a Soviet Union university.
Having experience with a couple UK universities, it really is. It's insane.
I teach at
Um,
one. I teach at one. I'm not going to stay exempt here. I'm part of the
so,
propaganda machine.
we the people, how many Americans will benefit from the annexation or whatever? Like we don't like they've take. It's not chess where you capture the king and the whole country falls. As I said, the regime's still there. All the MPs are there. The entire regime is still there. Maybe they might be more amenable to U.S. imperial decree because you took out the head guy. But so far, it's not. We can't say that for certain. But what I want to say is that what our thesis is, I think, is that this is really to prepare the way for World War III. In the event World War III will break out, which we don't anticipate would occur for another decade, they've got the oil resources. It will cost a fortune to tap into those oil resources. I mean, I was hearing some reporting that they said it's going to be 10 times more expensive to actually process Venezuelan oil than it is Saudi Arabian oil. I know Saudi oil is more accessible and therefore less expensive to extract. I don't know. I have no idea about the figure of 10 times more expensive. But it will certainly cost a lot of money. And okay, Exxon owned some capital investment or property there. It was nationalized by the communists. Great. Trump's come in, America's going to take it back, give it back to Exxon, whatever. Do they want to invest hundreds of millions, perhaps billions, in developing further Venezuelan oil infrastructure? What is the next 5, 10? What is the next year going to look like? Let alone the next 5, 10 years. It doesn't take. It's not like we just go in, seize all the barrels of oil, which apparently they've taken quite a few, I don't know. And then it's just like, great, now we've got all that oil and it's working so well. No, they have to actually build the industry and invest into it. And the point is, are these companies, these corporations, do they really want to go in and invest? Or maybe does the US government need to subsidize them to encourage them to do it? And if the US government is subsidizing literally Exxon and Shell and these companies, that means American taxpayers are paying the oil companies to go and develop, and hopefully there's some return in 5, 10 years. But as Swen said, not for you, for Exxon and for the shareholders in Exxon, and I'm sure Musk and Gates and they all them, and I know the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, they own a ton of shares in all these companies. So is this for you? Is it your empire? Do you feel enriched? No. Just final point. Sven says Americans are poorer and poorer. That has some truth to it. Also, Americans in many ways are richer and richer in certain aspects. It seems that the affordability is coming down, regardless of I don't think poor is the right term, because some Americans are richer. I think the quality of life is coming down, and the standard of life are coming down, and I think affordability is coming down massively.
Yeah, I mean, as far as oil, like I said, I technically still, I have a lot of connections still in the oil industry. I'm a expert in Ramco. I'm certified in Ramco field trainer, and I did ELT for a long time in the Middle East. I worked with a lot of oil companies, Aramco, one of them, BP, a couple of name drops there. The reality is that Saudi Arabia is probably one of the most advanced oil rigging in the world outside of the United States and Russia and other places. I mean, they're developed. If literally, like if we have so many spots for drilling in Saudi. I see the platforms. We got these 10 platforms they bring in and they start drilling right away. It takes them like a couple of years to get it set up, and they're in like very quickly. But to really, the thing is with Venezuela, since Chavez took over and they nationalized the oil industry there, the America has a monopoly on the technologies and a lot of the equipment. So like same thing with Iran, like what's going on now. When America pulls out, the American and the British oil companies, the Dutch oil companies, when they pull out of drilling and processing, a lot of the equipment starts to break down, parts are unavailable, and they can't use, they have to basically MacGyver the shit to get the oil out of it and, for it to work. And on top of that, with embargoes, tariffs, and trades, because they have a monopoly on the transfer of a lot of this oil on the global scale, because it's traded in dollars. It's all there talked about this with a petrodollar. This happened after, I believe it was the 70s, right? Or the Nixon administration, or was it Carter? I digress. The reality is that Venezuela is going to take at least 10 years to redevelop their oil industry. On top of that, they have a silver mine there. That's going to take 5 to 10 years. I worked in mining too from Manhattan in Saudi Arabia. As I worked at the university, the Polytech there, teaching miners languages and whatnot. Same situation. It's going to take 5 to 10 years to get it set up and operational. Not only that, but you're going to be transitioning from a communist system to a capitalist system, free market economy. So that's going to add to the misery as well. So that transition is going to take even further, because you're going to have to teach people languages, i.e. send English teachers, people like me, to come in and teach them the technical language, to teach them training, expert trainers coming in. They're going to have contractors come in, start setting things up. It could take as far as 10, maybe 15 years. So you both are right. We're not going to see the American people or the world, or South America for that matter, is not going to see any type of advantage or any type of progress or economic activity out of this for a long time, way past Trump's administration and the next administration that comes thereafter. The reality is I really think that this is a strategic to try to gain more influence and dominance in South America. We have a South American with us today, Swen, so he can shed a little more light on that. But more importantly, they want to kick China out of the Middle East and influence in the Middle East with Panama Canal, with Peru, with Argentina, now with Venezuela. They're trying to kick China out. They want to take global dominance. And I said that this was going to happen in the Trump administration. It's one of the policies that I predicted that he would start, going forth with is to try to push China out of Mexico, Central America, and South America, and doesn't care about Southeast Asia, to be honest. The current policy, from what I understand, you said I'm a geopolitical expert. I teach at a university. I don't think they really care about Asia. I think they're leaving, like the Bush administration had said before, Korea is not our problem. It's Japan's problem, China's problem, and Korea. We don't want to get involved. We're more concerned with the Middle East. This is Bush's words for the GW. We're more concerned with the Middle East and West Asia. We're not so much concerned about East Asia right at this point. Now with Trump administration, I think the main thing with East Asia is trade embargoes and cutting off the squid octopus hands. So trying to go after places like India, trying to get, because China's been building bases and ports all over the world. I talked about this in previous podcasts 2-3 years ago, that this eventually would be an issue if Trump were elected, which we are here now, a year in. So it is what it is. Like I said, I called a lot of this stuff, and now we're seeing it in real time as it's playing out. But anyway, Swen, you got anything to say, or you want to go forth, Mad Max something?
They are the American Empire, or some people call it that. I just think it's the continuation of the elites of the British Empire, and
Correct.
And it's not only those elites; it's also the Holy Roman Empire. The continuation of those families, and the British families make up the current world that we have today. They never left; they just moved and set their base of operations in Washington D.C. Right, and well, yes, they are focusing a lot on this region. They are developing South America. The French are investing like billions of dollars into building like a road into the highlands of the country to extract the minerals or the mines and whatnot. And there is a shit ton of minerals here that have not been exploited. I think you posted a map the other day in the group chat where you said like the highest unexploited or like underdeveloped mines in the world, and a lot of those resources were in Mexico.
I'll pull that up real quick. Hold on 1 second. Continue what you were talking about. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're in Mexico. There's some in Peru. I think some in Bolivia and Argentina. There is rare earth materials here. It's all of this stuff can be used to prolong expansion. Expansion in what sense? Expansion of civilization, in the sense that there is higher and higher amount of urbanization happening in this continent. Um, Buildings, that is to say, multifamily buildings, residential complexes are being erected all over the country, and the real estate market is like booming here. It's booming. We are selling twice as many properties as we were like 10 years ago.
Yeah, you can see the map here. This is the gold mines. Let me see if yeah. So in this map, you can see the gold mines and just gold. Like I didn't pick up silver yet, so silver is like even more disparative. So if you look at this map, the United States has the largest gold mine in the world, active gold mine in Nevada, and then the other gold mines in the Bahamas, and then Canada. And then here, the gold mine here, this is Kazakhstan, Africa, Australia. I believe this is I want to say this is where is it? It's in here, Papua New Guinea and Indonesia, or Uzbekistan was where so all of these gold mines, these are all operated by U.S. U.S. and Canadian and Western gold mining operations. The only gold mine that's independent from the United States and China is Russia, and it's like the fourth largest gold mine in the world. I'm going to go back real quick and get to oil reserves here. If you guys can see this one, hold on. As you can see, the Venezuela has the largest, and this is a well-known fact. They were a member, I believe they were a member of OPEC at one time. So Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world, known oil reserves, and this is 302 billion. They dwarf Canada, Iran, and the United States as far as overall oil capacity. And the thing is that they got a lot of good crude oil that could be used. Where am I at? Oh, sorry. Yeah, so they got a lot of good crude oil that could be used in U.S. Refineries. Our refineries are under in the 70s. The U.S. administration at the time changed over our refining operations in West Texas from light crude, sweet crude, because that's predominantly what West Texas is full of. It's some of the best, like the sweet crude in the Americas, to processing heavy crude, which is why Canada is so important. That's why the Keystone Pipeline was so significant, because that was going to pipe and barrel in lots of heavy crude to be processed in these refineries. Now with Venezuela, and I think this was the end game for the last 10 years since the Bush administration, probably 20 years, was to gain control of Venezuela, because Exxon was in Venezuela in the Bush administration before Chavez took over. And like I said, they nationalized the oil and they kicked Exxon out because we were at an unlimited supply of oil coming in through Exxon in the United States at the time, and then that pretty much ceased, and then we had to find alternatives, and that was where Russia came in, Saudi Arabia, and other countries that we do trade with. So now it's going back that 30-year policy in that. I just want to show silver mines if I've got it up, and I do. So if you can see the silver mines here, just take a look at the largest silver mine in the world, and it dwarfs all the rest of the silver mines in the world. Where are these silver mines? Oh, surprise, surprise. Mexico. They're on the west coast of Chile, and I believe Peru, right? Or no, where is this? Chile, and what is this country here? You still with us, Swen?
He's not. Swen just gone.
Oh, okay, he'll come back. Yeah, so that's the reality, is that like South America and Central America control some of the largest silver mines in the world. And that's the reason.
Silver deposits.
Oh,
and,
no.
And as well as developed, yeah.
Correct, sure. Correct. So this is the reason why China has built a major port in Peru that Swen has talked about previously on multiple podcasts. If you've been following the podcast for a while, this is the reason why China is here. China needs silver. Why does China need silver? Well, China is one of the most high-tech developed countries in the world. They're a manufacturing hub. They need a lot of silver for industrial capacity. What is the number one export in China right now?
Steel?
Solar panels. Yeah, I got you, Swen. I'm just going over the silver mines and the geopolitical and business strategy of China. The reason why they built that port that you talked about, Swen, was because of these undeveloped silver mines in South America. You can see where they are. They're on your side of South America. The reason why China built that port, the number one reason, is because China is the largest exporter of solar panels. And they need these mines so that they can send solar panels, so they can send silver to China to build more solar panels and technology. That's the geopolitical and business strategy of
I
China.
want to mention something very quick on that. One of the newer applications of solar panels, which has been developed or tested out in China, is they have this program for poor farmers in China where they install a very small solar station with a power bank with like some batteries to store the energy. And then overnight, or throughout the day or whenever it is more efficient, they use this stored energy to pump water out of the ground in areas which will have been like economically infeasible because using oil will have been too expensive. They just use the power of the sun to pump water out of the ground, and this enables greater expansion of agricultural development.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of different technologies and advanced technologies with China and what's going on. I mean, the main thing is this is why I told you guys to keep an eye on silver. This is why silver went to over $80 an ounce, was for this particular reason, because of the stability of Central America and South America with silver, and China's need for silver for technology. It's one of the main drivers. This is why I said, silver is going to hit close to $100 an ounce by the end of 2025. I was spot on. And
So
like I said, it's gonna continue to drive from there on. But go ahead.
I just wanted to support that what you're saying. Allegedly, silver has unmatched electrical conductivity. Modern solar panels have these silver pasted cell contacts, and China dominates the market for global solar module production, 75, 80%. Um, and this demand for silver is one of the most strategically important exports as infrastructure of future energy systems. Personally, I'm not a big fan of photovoltaics. I think that nuclear is better, but there's a big push for this decarbonization, and certainly that seems to be the future. And maybe, probably, carbon has had some global climate change effects. So China has this industrial leverage over decarbonization. Silver is absolutely crucial for that. It's a structural, non discretionary demand. Silver is not only photovoltaics, but also a ton of industrial applications. And high volume, long input, long term silver output. It's a strategic node. It's necessary. This is everything he said. Yeah, it's a Belt and Road, industrial power, geoeconomic strategy. But the important thing is, when we look at what China's doing versus what America's doing, China's like, look, we're going to finance and invest in your port. And we're going to have vertical integration across these continents. We're going to have long-term infrastructure ownership. We're going to try and reduce dependency at hostile choke points. Whereas the America's like, we're going to sanction you if you don't do what we want. American empire seizes and sanctions. The Chinese model is to build and integrate. One thing I was thinking of when you were talking about Korea is how would we, the West, react if there was a Chinese abduction of a hostile Taiwanese politician? I don't think we'd take too kindly to that. But of
No.
course, America is the exceptional empire. They do what they want because there doesn't really seem to be no one really wants to challenge them. Doesn't seem quite worth it. But it does create this pressure to move away from them, to create the alternative systems, to push towards multipolarity and BRICS and try and leave the dollar because that is a central node of their coercive control. So some people say, isn't it great that America has finally got a president that's able to exert itself and benefit Americans? And you know what? It's a good thing that Maduro's gone. He was bad for America. He was bad for Venezuela. Maybe. But certainly it's not set. It's not fixed that what's just gone on isn't actually good for America. Either in the short run, medium run, long run, we don't know that. And maybe, I'm not saying for sure, maybe these aren't good things. Is this, are Americans going to be better off as a result? Hopefully, but who can say?
It's hard to say. I think at this point, Trump is setting up for a 10-year, 15-year plan to establish for a long, lengthy Republican or GOP dominance and geopolitical landscape. We're seeing a resurgence of Reagan economics that I said we would see with the tariffs and different types of geopolitical strategies that he's been implementing. And I was like, just read Reagan's playbook, and that's Trump's policies, foreign policy and domestic policy through and through, an economic policy. And that's why it's been pretty easy for me to predict what's going on. And when I called, I said, we're going to Venezuela 2 days before it happened. Sure enough, here it happens. And I broke down the reason why now. And, it's not difficult. It's really not difficult, especially when you work in academia like I do. And you know a lot of people in academia. We all talk and we come to the same consensus. And I mean, this is why you guys follow the channel, because I mean, we do our research, so and we're able to accurately make predictions and timelines to the T for the most part, because it's all pretty predictable at this point. How China's going to react, it's hard to tell. But the thing is the United States and China, they're both each other's largest trading partners. So China, it's like it's the lesser of two evils. So it's like you don't want to. It's mad mutual assured destruction. That's kind of where Nixon brought it when he came to China and bypassed Soviet Union and said, "Hey, we want to make you a large trading partner." And this is the animal that we created, the monster, if you will. So the whole point is that as long as the United States is trading with China and China is trading with the United States and Taiwan for that matter, because China buys a lot of microchips from Taiwan. Why would you invade your neighbor? Why would you invade your largest supplier of of microchips? This is I mean, when I was talking about this 2 years ago, I was like, oh man, China, if the window's open, if they want to invade, they might invade. No, it's just posturing. They're just letting them know, yeah, we got you, bro. We're protecting our assets. So yeah, it's just it's like Georgia and Russia. They both talk about crap. What's up?
When we talk about hypocrisy, America's just said it's fine. If you want their strategic assets, go ahead. Just try and make it clean.
Yeah. I mean, it's just business, bro. It's just business, bro. Like our podcast, we talked about this before. Like Georgia and Russia. I mean, yeah, they don't like each other, but they still have to live in the same neighborhood, and they still do some trade with each other, but there's still a lot of bad blood between them going back to 91 onward. So I mean, it's just this is trade. See, the great thing about trade, if you go to Adam Smith and a lot of like economic and geopolitical authors of the past, or theorists, if you will, it prevents major wars and major escalations. As long as people are trading, they're not going to go to war with each other. As long as there's a mutual benefit. So I mean, this is what happened in World War I and World War II, is that the breakdown of trade and currency wars and trade wars started, and then it escalated into full scale out war, because countries felt they were, predominantly Germany twice, was like, we got a raw deal, and they did. I mean, the Treaty of Versailles. And the Austrian painter was like, I got a raw deal. And he just started going in and invading people. And then he was trying to do concessions with people, and then still was like, we got a raw deal. We got a raw deal. And this is what happens. So as long as China is not, like I said, the whole thing is this, I don't think a war is going to escalate unless China feels that they're not, and they're getting a raw deal. And I think at this point that we're talking about this, China is probably at the cusp of like, maybe we need to renegotiate and reassess our trade agreements and our deals, because now it seems like we're getting pushed out of South America, and we might be getting a raw deal on this one, because this is exactly what happened in Iran. Reason why Iran, they had new government, new regime. They felt that America was stealing from them and not giving them the deal that they originally agreed upon. And I mean, the State Department and the history books might say another thing, but the reality is that the government at the time was, and the people were like, we got a raw deal. So they revolted and raided the embassy, and the rest is history, as they say. That's really all it is. It's all trade deals. It's business, bro. When you feel like you're being wronged and you're not getting a good deal, you're going to renegotiate, or you're going to revolt. You're going to flip the table over. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree. If you wanted to add to that.
Well, I have lots I could say on World War I, World War II. Not going to get into it, but certainly the British American oil company, petroleum company, BP in Iran. Yeah, they came in. They said, "Look, we will invest in your oil industry. We found the oil. We invested in the oil, and you get 25, 50% back. I think 25, 10%, which, if when you're Iran in the early 20th century, sure, oil, whatever. They went and they developed the oil, and it's a lot of capital investment and risk, and fair enough. And then they get money. One could say, great, isn't that fantastic that these foreigners have come in, they've invested their money, they've built some industry, they're selling it, we're benefiting. But then it gets to like the 70s, and you're like, hang on a minute, this is our oil, our national resources. They're coming in. They're just, they're selling it. We're getting pennies for the dollars. Really, this is ours. Now, maybe it was a raw deal, maybe not. Certainly, when it was negotiated originally, it was there was a position of strength, say. Uh, you get to 30 years later, they said, look, oil's pretty big nowadays. We think we need to have more benefit out of this. And yeah, as you say, I'm not so well knowledgeable about the Iranian Revolution. My understanding is preceding it, there was a decade of hyper liberalization, and I haven't studied that period. But yeah, then there was like a red-green alliance between the communists and the left wing. Between the left wingers and the Islamists won, and they said, "Yay!" And they said, "All right, now let's crack down on the leftists." And complex.
So I pulled up the facts here, and you were pretty close, but it was originally the agreement was 16% of annual revenues, net profits, and oil sales that they were giving the Iranian government. The BP was, and they this is all fact. You can fact check this. The amounts that are actually paid were sometimes 5 to 8%, and that was uncalled for raw deal that they got. So, yeah, I mean that's what I'm trying to say is that literally it's business, bro. And you could look at geopolitical studies and business strategy and studies. I teach business studies and strategy as well as geopolitics, but the reality is that if you have a raw deal, you're going to get pretty bitter pretty quick. And this is always going to result in corporate takeovers or war, if you will, or conflicts. That's usually where it starts. And this goes to the Karabakh with Azerbaijan and Armenia as well. That stirs up every couple of years because there's this little piece of land that separates Azerbaijan and Armenia. And there's a lot of oil and gas in that region, and it just can't be touched or messed with because it actually Armenia is like, what's ours? Azerbaijan's like, no, it's ours, and they both can't agree on it. So it just sits there, and it's a lot of oil and gas there. And this is the same thing with the Ukrainian conflict as well. It's a lot of gas and oil basins in the eastern part of Ukraine and the Azov Sea on the Crimea Peninsula. And this is more or less what this war was started over. The Biden family and several other Pelosi's and a lot of politicians apparently made secret backdoor deals with the Ukrainian government to go in there and extract and oil companies and so on and so forth. And when they went to go try to extract it, and they amassed an army to go into Donbass. Apparently, Putin didn't like that and responded swiftly with the special military operation. The rest is history. Similar to what we call today's special military operation in South America. That was a Fox News that actually said that. And I'm like, where did I hear that from before? I mean, special military operation. Are we using this now? That I guess Putin just came up with a new trendy word to describe, invading countries. So I guess let's just call it special military operation. Don't have to worry about UN resolution or international law. We'll just fucking go in wherever we want. Just say it's a special military operation. It's not a war. It's not a conflict. It's just special. I don't know. I digress. Anything else you want to add on there? I want to get into the Christmas video here of our VP and president. We can take a quick break and watch that. Huh?
How it was just how the special military operation was described for Russia was a war is a state of war between states. Russia are not in a state of war. It's just a special military operation, which looks like war, smells like war, but they're not actually at war.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more of a civil war conflict in what I saw it as. That's what I called it at first, was more of a civil war conflict between two sovereign territories to try to figure out what is it was breakaway region. Same thing in Georgia, like Ossetia and Abkhazia. I don't want to say it too much because the fact that I'm in this country, but it's another civil war conflict. It's just territory that individuals are trying to break away from. All right, let me pull this up real quick.
Hey, caramba.
We're in front of the Rockefeller tree. We're gonna try and touch the star. Shh, don't tell anyone. Vance, come on, don't wait. He's actually doing. Keep rolling. Go, go. Careful, careful. Okay, Brandon, go, go, go. Watch the rail. You got it. Oh. It's tipping! Whoa! Train's coming down!
Too funny for school, man. Too funny for school. Oh man. So that was a nice little thing. We found that on the internet. They gave us to us. I know you wanted to talk about AI and how it's related to this current situation. You with me, Mad Max? You want to talk about AI?
Another time is whole topic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can bring that up in the next podcast. Just what like yeah, that's it. Go
ahead. You said you mentioned that what went on in Latin America is strategic. It was at the very least an immediate PR victory, and America is losing in Europe against Russia. I don't think. I mean, you said they don't care about somewhere in Asia. Other people say, well, we need to shift our priority to Asia Pacific. Whatever. America has a history of military adventurism. Oh no, things aren't going so well. Quick, easy win in Latin America. That's what happened. They got a quick, nice, easy win, at least immediately. Again, we don't know the long-term implications. And yeah, this really is their backyard, right? It's the Don Roe doctrine. I mean, it's not really the Monroe Doctrine, by the way, because the Monroe Doctrine was America's not going to be a global hegemon. They're going to focus on the Western Hemisphere, but you don't have that anymore. So the Monroe Doctrine was specifically to keep the US out of the wars that were ravaging Europe in the 19th century. In the wars of the European powers, in matters relating to themselves, we have never taken any part, nor does it comport with our policy to do so. It is only when our rights are invaded or seriously menaced that we resent injuries or make preparations for our defense. And then he said, we do have a right over the Western Hemisphere. That was the Monroe Doctrine. This is not the Monroe Doctrine, because who's the greatest sponsor and manufacturer of the war going on in Europe right now between these European powers? America. Who's threatening to just seize the 51st state, which is nice higher north, from a European power, America. So it's not actually a Monroe Doctrine. But, it doesn't matter. It's just headlines.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, a shit show, and it's coming to its climax. We'll see what happens. The thing is that I do know that the Russian economy has been impacted pretty bad, but of course, so is the EU, and it's probably doubled down in the EU how badly impacted it is. So I think it's, in my mind, like I said, it's a race to the bottom, and EU is losing that battle, I think, and America is now trying to cut its losses and double down. They're like, well, let's go ahead and start invading sovereign territories and the South America, and try to get some oil. Plus they're gonna ramp it up a Yemenis conflict as well. It doesn't help, but I mean, like I said, there's gonna be a lot of, like I said, 2025, 2026. We're going to see a lot of conflicts arising. I said this was going to happen, and we're seeing it. They're going to, we had an Iran conflict, Israel conflict. Syria came to its climax. Now we have South America, India, and Pakistan. Just a lot of conflicts that evolved over time. But that's all I'm going to say on that. I think we've come to a nice conclusion. We got an hour, 19 minutes. Any final words from anybody? I'm pretty much done with the one I want to talk about. So, And of course, Mad Max is typing away, just bam, 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 Mad Max style. That's it. Sven, thanks for joining us. Remember, guys,
a pleasure.
like, subscribe, follow, and make some comments in our thing. It helps the algorithm.
I think the right way to end is we made a fantastic statement, which is that the Republic is dying. Long live the American Empire, and hopefully it lives long. Right? Historical empires acknowledge domination as domination. This contemporary American power insists domination is morality, enforcement, care, coercion, consent. Republics require predictable law, bounded authority, accountability. Empire, just power. Predictability abandoned, limits are treated as obstacles, and exceptionalism is normalized. So the Republic is dying. This describes institutional reality. American civilization is progressive and decayed to such a point. But long live the American Empire. It's kind of describing what's replaced it. Progressive decay lies precisely in that divergence. The power remains strong, but the legitimacy is consumed within.
Good point.
It's a relationship.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sven. Sorry.
It's a relationship between how the citizenry views itself in relation with the government and what is the form of the government. You know, an octopus takes many shapes and colors. It disguises itself to prevent to be seen by prey and to attack its prey. The octopus has many tentacles, many suckles, and it uses it to feed itself. We are it's always been depicted. If you take a look at like early 20th century or 19th century depictions of this organism, this sort of collection of families which parasite of the world, it was depicted as an octopus, and it constantly continues to morph in how we see it throughout the centuries for at least 400 to 500 years. And it doesn't stop for as long as people fall for the deception. It's the same.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Like I said, we'll see you guys next week, or if we post some other stuff on locals, which I usually do. Peace.